Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today, I have an upload that actually solidifies a lot of what Victor shared with us. Before we get into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? All right, everybody. Tonight I have a special guest with me, Zach from Alabama. He has shared two of his encounters, one when he was a child and one just recently where he actually heard one of these creatures speak. I invited him on the show tonight because I think it is really beneficial for everybody to hear what he has got to say. Zach, the floor is yours, my friend.
Hi, everybody. Hey, how y'all doing? Yeah, I can tell you one thing. Some of y'all out here probably don't believe in these things, but yes, they do exist. But as a kid, yeah, I had experience with one, and now about 20 years later, I came across another one, and I can, good way to start this for you.
You want to share? You want to share your first encounter, and that way they can get like reacquainted with you, or?
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
All right.
Yeah, like I showed on the channel before, everybody, you know, as a kid, I came across one, and I was staying the night at my grandparents' house, my mom's parents, over in Summerdale. And one night, went out in the back, you know, just doing a normal thing. And then I ended up looking up in a tree, ended up seeing one. And yeah, it's definitely a hard subject to talk about. This is really my first time, you know, talking to everyone live about it. So if I sound a little jittery, y'all, I do apologize for that. It's definitely still a little bit of a hard topic. But as I shared on this channel before with Jeff, you know, I've had a childhood encounter, and just recently came across another one that, you know, I'm gonna kind of get to in a second. You know, that's kind of still a mind blower. But yeah, these things, I feel like they want the same thing that we do. You know, because like I said on the channel before, you know, that childhood encounter that I had, I feel like if it wanted to get me, it really could have, because when I say these things are pretty much as fast as lightning, that's true. They're fast as lightning. So, you know, and as close as me and that, I guess I'll say werewolf because of the color it had, you know, it could have really got me if it wanted to. And I do feel like with it waving, I kind of feel like in a way it tried to lure me because, you know, like William has said, you know, once they get you kind of comfy, you know, that's when they're more likely to try to get you. So, you know, for many years, I thought, you know, these things were definitely completely evil, just like plenty of people that say on the channel. You know, these things feel like they just give off a negative vibe and just evil. And that's true. That's true. I can understand where that comes from. But with this recent encounter that I just recently had that I ain't shared with nobody up until recently with you, Jeff,
yeah.
You know, these things, I feel like we have way more in common than we want to give them credit for, just like they probably don't want to give us credit for. You know, but just like I've shared recently, you know, I was on my dad's hunting property up there in Fruitdale, Alabama, which is about 50-something miles from where I'm at now, here in Mobile. You know, I was on my property, you know, just walking around, you know, looking at what needs to be done because we leased a property, so, you know, there's other people that, you know, will use it for turkey season and stuff like that, and then once they leave, you know, we'll turn around and go, you know, and go lease it for ourselves for the year to hunt deer. So, my dad's got leukemia, so my dad's not really able to do like we used to, go walk around for hours out in the heat, you know, enjoy the, you know, wildlife and stuff like that. So I was just up there walking around. You know, I checked out the little hunting spot that I was going to clear out. So I was like, you know what, you know, with all this stuff going on, you know, my grandma's health getting worse, you know, I'm going to go take a little walk and just clear my head. So like I said, I was about a good 400 to 500 yards from the spot that we was going to use to hunt on. And then I came up on a little hilltop that was made of red dirt, you know, just a little small opening, not really too open, but it was open enough for me to just sit there and relax and still be able to look around and, you know, keep my eyes open for anything. So I'm just kind of like sitting there just, you know, minding my own business, you know, taking the fresh air, getting a lot off my mind, you know, and then I noticed that, you know, it was quiet. You know, yeah, like there was marks on the trees and stuff like that, like I've shared before, but, you know, besides that, you know, everything was normal and stuff like that, but I was just sitting on the hill, you know, just looking around, just, you know, check my gun and make sure the safety was still on. You know, I didn't want it to, you know, accidentally come off and then go boom and, you know, have an accident. But, you know, I put my gun back down beside me, just keep looking around, and then that's when I noticed it's kind of quiet, you know, because out here, you know, you hear birds, you'll hear squirrels, like, you know what it's like if you're out there in the open and out there in the wild, you know, you're supposed to hear stuff. And then I noticed that it's just quiet. And I keep looking around, you know. I looked around a little bit longer than I made it sound like when I messaged you the first time about it. But I looked to my left, and then to my left, you know, there's supposed to be a little open area that's open enough for you to be able to look around and see and stuff like that. And it does have a little bit of bush and shrubbery and trees, but it was open enough to realize that, hey, if you were to put something right there that don't go there, you would easily be able to tell that don't belong there. And that's what I noticed was a big tall, well, I say tall, but it was at least a good 5.5 foot off the ground, just big black spot. And I looked, and as I'm looking, I can tell that, you know, okay, where this is, that's an arm. You know, that's the outline of a head with ears. You know, that's all you could tell from over 50 yards away. And then all of a sudden, that's when you see an ear twitch. I saw an ear twitch. And then I saw the head kind of like tilt sideways and then turn and then get back straight again. And then all of a sudden, it goes from, I guess, sitting on its back legs to just falling forward and then starts walking on all fours. You know, kind of like you said in the videos, but what I could tell was like, you know, I could tell walking on all fours wasn't really what it preferred, because it just seemed like the back legs, you know, didn't bend or, you know, form right to really walk like that. And the front arms were definitely long. So I mean, you could clearly tell that all fours was not what it preferred to walk on. And then as it got a little bit closer, that's when I realized, I was like, okay, you're definitely one of these things that I saw as a kid, but you know, you got a black coat, you ain't got this gray and white looking kind of coat. So first thing that came to my head, I was like, oh man, this is too close for comfort. This is not what I want. So the first thing I do is I tell it, I was like, look, I'm not here to harm you. I'm just here checking out my hunting property. I mean you no harm. And then that's when the thing just stops. And when I mean stop, it means it went from walking on all fours to being, you know, walking slow, you know, trying to obviously check me out and see what it wants to do. And it just stops. And then it starts doing that little head tilt again. And the look on his face was, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Goosebumps, the episode of Werewolf from Beaver Swamp, how it just has that, you know, just the face around the eyes and nose. It don't have any hair. And it's got like a short little, you know, smeared in looking snout. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, either somebody bashed this dog man's face in real good, or this ain't a dog man, this is a werewolf. And as I was saying, he was sitting there just staring at me. And then that's when I hear with a deep guttural. To this day, it's still kind of hard to put into words what it sounds like, but it's deep. And I've heard people comment and say that does it sound like, you know, that character from the Addams Family, the big Frankenstein looking dude?
Lurch.
Yeah, does it sound like Lurch? And I was like, no, not really. But that's probably going to be the best example that I could probably give everyone, for everybody to kind of get a understanding of what it sounds like as far as deep tone goes. If you can kind of take that and put like a guttural behind it, then I could pretty much say that's pretty much what you got. So because I looked over stuff to try to compare it to what its voice sounds like, and there's nothing that I could come off the top of my head what it sounds like. But as I was telling Jeff and all y'all before, you know, it asked me, you know, you're not afraid of me. And that's when I'm just like, thought to myself, like, there's no way. It's like, how are you talking? That's like, because, like I said, my mouth dropped and my body went numb. Like, none of this is supposed to even exist, for one, but they do. And two, hearing that you can talk is like, you know, it makes you feel like, is this whole world alive? Because something like this isn't supposed to happen. But that's when, after it said that, I continue to look frozen. It's hard to put this in words, because till this day, days later, it's just hard to believe. And I know people are probably going to be like, well, this guy right here sounds like a joke. Well, you know, everybody is free to believe what they want to believe, but I can promise you these things do exist. And this one talking to me most definitely spoke. But that's when I looked at it and I was like, I'm not here to hurt you. And he just looked at me and I'm telling you, man, these eyes when I say these yellow piercing eyes that could look right through your eyes into your soul, that's exactly what these eyes look like. You know, they got where we would have green, yellow look, you know, eyes. These are yellow with black pupils, and it looked like a human's eyes, but just yellow instead of being blue, green, brown, whatever that we would have. And he's just sitting there staring at me. And after I told him that, no, I'm not here to hurt you. I understand that you want what we want. I feel like you want to live in peace. And I know, I came across one of your time before in the past, and I feel like if that one didn't kill me, then I feel like, in a way, you won't kill me. I feel like there can be an understanding. And that's when it just sits there and just keeps looking and looking, and then all of a sudden it goes from being off on all fours to stand up on two legs. And Jeff, when I tell you this thing stood up on two legs, that's when fear really flows. Because this thing was easily between 7 and 8 foot. There's no doubt about it. And how William does his job, seeing these things on a regular basis and seeing something like that stand up on two legs, that man is a bigger hero than anybody wants to give him credit for, because you got to be, it's hard to put in words how you can handle something like that. But when it stood up on two legs, that's when it looked at me, and then it raised its right hand and pointed dead at me with these big old hands. I'd hate to be anybody that gets grabbed by these big old hands, because the fingers are pretty darn long, and I would hate to get grabbed by something like that. So it pointed and looked at me, and that's when I said that said protect us. And that's when, you, Jeff, and William kind of helped me out and realized that it really meant to say to protect me. And if that's the case, that made me feel a lot more relieved. But in a way, like William said, you can't sit here and get comfy with something like that. And I haven't. But to this day, I call him Buddy because that's just a quick name to give him. And I feel like, and I feel like me and him, I feel like we're slowly becoming friends, because, even to this day, he don't walk up and greet you, hey, how you doing, like your everyday neighbor. He stays at a distance and just minds his own business. Like, he'll sit there and just prop up against a tree, or just stand there and watch. But he don't never do nothing. And then recently, Jeff, I was listening to one of your channels, and I had the phone propped up against the tractor to kind of make it help echo a little bit, to make it louder, because one of my speakers on my phone don't work, so I can't really hardly hear. But I'm sitting here, listening to your channel and all that, and the wolf that you have at the beginning of your channel, when it does that little howl and does all that, that's when I heard a noise from behind me one day, and I looked, and it was him, and he was doing a little howl noise. I don't know exactly. I can't really reenact it, because I sure as hell ain't got the vocals that he's got. But he just kind of like sat there and kind of like would mock the noise, just kind of going, except with in his tone of voice that's hard for me to reenact.
Right.
But I was just kind of like, and that's when I paused your channel, and I looked at him, because he's 50 to 60 yards away. Like I said, he keeps his distance, but he ain't gonna get real close. because I think he's still kind of weary, just like I am about him. You know, somebody that's 8 foot tall and not supposed to exist. You know, I'm gonna definitely question you for a long time. But you know, he just sits there and just starts, kind of making the mocking noises. I was like, did you hear what I'm listening to? And when I said that, and when I say that, this thing looked at me and shook its head up and down. It didn't say nothing, but its head nodded up and down, like, say, yeah. And I was like, do you want to listen to this with me? Because, I'm trying to sit here and, I'd rather make friends than make enemies with anybody. But this thing, I definitely want to try to be the best of friends. But when I said that, it kind of like got on all fours again and kind of like walked himself a little bit outward, because where he was at, he was still kind of in the trees, so it's not like he was in the open. So he kind of like made his way towards, my direction, which a little ways away, about, I won't say, he was about 50 or 60 yards, so I was probably about 30 or 40 yards, from the edge of the woods and the clearing and all that stuff. So I could see him in there. So I'm sitting there, I say that to him. He starts making his way towards me, like I said, on all fours, being slow and skeptical. I'm pretty sure he's trying to figure out, hey, what you got going on. So he makes his way out a little bit. I'm going to say probably, all you can see is really his right arm and his head. He didn't really want to put himself out there. So I'm sitting and I'm like, there is people out here who believe in you and don't want to hurt you. That was the best way for me to put it. And he looked at me and I think his next word was friend. And I was like, yes, friend. That we all can be friends. And Jeff, this thing looked at me and and smiled. And when I say smiled, I'm talking about, like I've said before in the past, like this, like a Grinch stole Christmas kind of smile that these things can put off. And that's when he just went back in the woods, and all I know is I heard him take off and run, and I was like, what is he doing? And then he was gone for a while. And then shortly later, hopefully William can be listening to all this and kind of make out what I'm trying to explain to everybody. But, time goes by, and this thing comes back, except he comes out, at the other end of the pasture that I'm, sitting here getting ready to hunt on. And Jeff, this thing comes back with a deer. It wasn't alive, of course, but he came back with a deer.
Wow.
So so when that happened, I looked at him and I was thinking to myself, like, okay, what is this? Like, what is he doing? And like I said, he came up with a deer, and at this point, he's out in the open. He's completely out in the open. And this is the first time that, was settled, after my nerves are settled and stuff like that, I'm able to really look at him and get a real good picture of what I'm looking at. And he stands up, and he's got this deer in his right hand. And I'm talking about this. This was a buck. This wasn't a doe or a little baby deer. This was a full grown buck. So we're talking like 160, 180 pound buck. He just sitting here holding it in his right hand like it ain't nothing. And he lifts it. He don't lift it all the way up, but he lifts it kind of high and then tosses it in front of him. And that's when I look at him and I'm like, is this for me? Because I had no what else to say. I was like, is this for me? And he looks at me for a minute and then looks at the deer and then looks back at me and he says, yours. And I'm like, And I'm sure thinking to myself, like, maybe he really does want peace, because none of this is making sense. And I tell him, I'm like, thank you, but I can get in trouble for this, because, you know, if somebody sees a dead deer and they know somebody's leasing this property, you know, and it's not even hunting season yet, they're going to automatically assume, hey, this dude's hunting, you know.
Yeah, you're poaching.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking at him, I'm like, buddy, I can get in some serious trouble. And he looks at me and he goes, buddy. And I say, yes. I gave you that's your name from me, because I don't know your name. So I'm just calling you buddy. And he looks at me and looks at the deer and picks it up. And he looks at me and says, for you. And I was like, thank you, but I cannot take this, because I can get in trouble. You know, I'm not able to hunt like you. You know, I can't sit here and hunt 24/7 and not get in trouble. I can get in trouble by my kind of people. And he was like, and he looked at me and he kind of like growled. He says, you trouble, no. And I was like, you know, I was like thinking to myself, like, me trouble, no. I was like, what is he talking about? What does he mean, me trouble, no? So what I guess he meant was that, you know, he don't want me to get in no trouble, and obviously if trouble comes my way, he ain't gonna like it too much. That's the only thing I could think of. But I was like, you take this. This is for you. And later on, when I'm able to kill something, then me and you both can have something. You know, like me, I'll give him a deer back in return to kind of like help keep the peace, because, you know, I'm still not 100% sure on his intentions, and I'm not sure if he can have a good month and then a bad one or what. So I tell him, you take this. You work for it. You have it. And he looked at me, and when I say looked at me, he looked me dead in my eye, and had a slight little grin, and said, "Thank you." That was clear as day. He said, "Thank you."
Wow.
So when people want to question William and then what he does, and when he says these things can talk, and people want to say no, they can't, I understand people are all about seeing is believing, but we all got to remember, we're not going to all get to see these things. But for the people that have seen them, you know, the best thing for us is for people not to ridicule us and make fun of us and call us liars and stuff like that, because, you know, all of us that have seen these, I guarantee you, the majority of us, you know, if we wouldn't have seen them, we'll be right there with you and we wouldn't understand. But, you know, I've seen people sit here and bash people about seeing these things, and people want to talk bad about William, but, you know, we're all supposed to be here for one another. You know, it's already hard enough times for everybody, and the last thing we need is to be against each other and arguing about who saw what, who did what, this and that. You know, so, you know, for everyone that's on this channel, let's try to always be positive and always keep, you know, an open mind. Because, you know, me, from my experiences, I can swear up and down that none of this is made up. You know, I might not be the best, you know, storyteller. You know, my words might not be the best choices and stuff like that, but these things truly do exist. And we honestly should give William more props and more respect for what he does, because I can tell you right now, based off my 2 encounters, I would not want to go out there and hunt these things, because I'll tell you right now, these things are smarter than you want to give them credit for real quick.
Yeah.
And, these things are born to, be wild and can be born killers. But like I said, I really think it's just like a human being. It's all about, what buttons you push and how you come off towards them. Every encounter is going to be different. It always is and always will. So I don't want nobody to think, oh, so-and-so, saw 2 werewolves in his whole life and he ain't had a problem with them. That's not going to go for everyone else's encounters. It can be bad. It can be good. Because, look at poor Luke. Look what he had to go through. And my prayers go out to him and his whole family. I couldn't imagine, having one in my room, pinning me up in a bathroom and having nowhere to go. And the only place that I have to go is back through that same door that, I got a psychopath Dogman behind. And this thing's over here getting a kick out of making me scream and everything else. That's not the kind of encounter I want to deal with. So I just wish everyone would have an open mind when it comes to this topic.
Yeah, I agree.
But Jeff, you can't tell everyone. You can't tell everybody that. Everybody controls their own opinions and own train of thought. But I just hope the people that want to be negative, I just kind of hope they learn to be more open-minded, and I'm trying to be positive about it, because I'm really a good person. I don't try to be irrational towards people, but sometimes people and their train of thoughts, just, it makes it harder for people like me to come out with stuff like this, because people like me that is going through this, this makes anxiety and stress to go through the roof.
I agree. It's a safe spot. It's supposed to be a safe spot. And like you and I had spoke prior to you sharing this. You said that this has helped you tremendously. You just sharing, your first encounter at your grandparents' house, and then shortly after you contacted me. It wasn't even shortly after; it was like a couple months later. And I've seen your comments in the comment section, and I appreciate that I can help people. So yeah, it means a lot to me that you said that, that I helped you. And wow, but your encounter, that was
you help a lot of us out, Jeff, more than I think you realize. And me personally, and I'm sure a lot of other people, we want to thank you for what you do and thank you for your channel. And I hope to see you continue to grow. And me as a subscriber, I'm going to always be here. And if I can help anybody in the comments, or if I can help anybody with questions, I'm willing to help, because I want to help William get this out. And I want to help, if I can get some of these werewolves points across that, hey, they don't want to hurt us, then I would like to do that too, because I feel like we as humans, the way that we go about things, we intend to quickly judge a book by its cover. And the moment you see one of these things and you're going to think, oh, this ain't supposed to exist. Oh my God, it's out to kill me. Yeah, there's some out there that have, the wrong type of mindset, but we always got to remember, us humans, a lot of us have the wrong mindset. And sometimes the approach that we would put towards one another to get our points across that, hey, I'm not this bad person that you think I am, I feel like we can do it with these things as well. Yeah, like William said, the Dogmen are, they're definitely their own kind of people, in other words, but I feel like a lot of us just get too scared and automatically jump to violence to, defend ourselves, or we go around just having the wrong mindset that, just ends up making us make bad choices that end up bringing bad things upon ourselves. That would be like me, I'm out here minding my own business and somebody aims a gun at me, and just because of how bulky and intimidating I look, they want to kill me, but yet I'm not out here trying to kill them when I could have easily walked up behind them and tapped them on the shoulder and snatched the head off their shoulders, but, it didn't. So, I just feel like, in a way, if some of us do see these things, I ain't going to say it works for all of them, but if you see one, just try to keep your calm and see what it's going to do. Because I promise you, from how my buddy acts and how quiet and stealthy he can be and as big as he is, there's no doubt that if you have one around you and it might be showing itself, or it might be sitting here, being a typical Dogman or being a typical werewolf, if it hasn't attacked you yet, then obviously that's not its number one intention, because I can tell anyone real quick that if these things wanted you, they could easily have you. And as far as, but in Luke's shoes, having that one in the bedroom, that's something like that. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah. And you could hear the fear in him, like his, just having him talk about it. I don't know if you guys could hear it through the mic, but when I had him on the phone, and he was sharing his encounter over he literally was at a loss of words sometimes, and he's still got like some serious PTSD, and probably for the rest of his life will he, and
well, I can, and I don't, and if he does, and I can totally understand it, because that's like me talking with you right now, Jeff. I'm not. It's hard for me to put this stuff into words, because this stuff is not. We're told growing up that, hey, monsters don't exist, this and that. So when we get after 20-something years of being told, hey, this don't exist, da 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 da, and you come across something like this, and it happens to you, whether in a good way or bad way, there is no choice of words for this stuff. There really isn't. There's no way you can sit here and tell something like this without getting choked up or this and that, because, this stuff ain't supposed to exist overall, according to how we're being told and raised. But that's why, like some people, when they sit here and go on to, talking about their encounters and stuff like that, and some of them sound so holly and jolly, I'm just kind of like, man, how either you got a better approach than I do or something, because I don't know how people come up with the choice of words to tell their stories like they do. That's like when I wrote you all mine, I was hoping my choice of words were good enough, because this stuff is just hard to put into words. It really is.
Yep, it is. It is.
That's like, but, as far as Buddy goes, he's been...
How many times have you seen him, like, since the very first time when you were up on that hill sitting there?
Since that day of seeing him that one time, I've probably seen him probably, let's see, I've been up there Let's see, I've been up there probably about 4 times since then, and probably about 3 out of 4 I've seen him.
Wow.
And like I said, every time I've seen him, he's been 50 plus yards away. So I kind of feel like he's still trying to figure me out and make sure that I'm not on any kind of time. Just
Right.
like I'm definitely watching him, make sure he's not on any kind of time. But, you know, I've seen him, you know, walk in the distance, stuff like that, on all 4s and on all 2s.
Now, when he's on all 4s, how big is he? Like on all 4s?
Let's see, I'm 5'9", so I'm not that tall, and even from the distance and at my height, I could easily say 5 foot easily.
Wow.
Easily.
That is huge.
And then we stand up on all 2, or on all, you know, on his back legs and all that. He's easily pushing 7, 7.5, if not 8. But I know he's 7 to 7.5 easily. But like I said, he's been real positive so far. So it's, you know, my outlook on werewolves and dogmen might be a little different than everybody else's, and that's because of my experiences. But trust you me, you know, I've taken William's advice to heart, and I hope everybody else does too, because, you know, if you know enough and know anything about the military and stuff like that, then you'll know that a lot of stuff that William says is on the money. You know, because I've had family in the military. You know, I still got one cousin that's still an active Marine. You know, so I grew up around people in the military, so I kind of had that military lifestyle growing up. And that's like me, you know. I go shooting all the time, you know, and I can shoot steel plates at 300, 400, and 500 yards and stuff like that, but that's what kills me. And to know some people out here want to hunt these things, I got news for people that want to do that. It's not going to go the way you think it's going to, and if you think it's going to just stand there and let you point something at it, it's not going to point nothing. It ain't going to happen. So if anybody that wants to try to hunt these things, you know, because Jeff, I've heard you and William talk about people coming from, you know, different countries or states and try to do this as a, you know, just for fun. You know, that, I don't know what's wrong with these people. They're definitely idiots, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because, like, I believe if it don't harm you, then don't try to harm it, because like I've said in the comments to people, you know, even as a self-defense thing, it ain't going to matter what you do in self-defense, because if it wants you, it's going to have you. Because unless you got, like, Williams' experience and you know when to aim and know where to aim and know where to be when you go to pull the trigger, then if you're just someone like me who's an average hunter, you know, and has grown up in the woods and can shoot from far away, that's not going to be enough. It's really not. And from my experience with, you know, with my friend, with my little furry friend, that it ain't no way it's going to turn out the way you think it is, because William can sit here and tell you how to do it, but telling and doing is two totally different things. And with the knowledge that Buddy has, I can promise you, I'm not going to sit here and try nothing with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I got a 416, and you know that's an elephant gun right there, pretty much. And even with that, I'm not going to sit here and feel like, oh, I can blow his brains out from right here and right now. No.
Yeah, because like you said, they're fast as lightning. By the time you have that gun up, he's probably going to be on you, you know?
I can tell you right now, from the way he looks and from what I've seen him do, I can tell you right now, 50 yards is like 3 steps. That's pretty much that's how fast they can be. So I can only imagine if they can do that, playing around, being shit, shits and giggles. And I feel like, if it went in defense mode and it was, and he thought, okay, I got to kill this person or he's going to kill me, then I feel like them 3 steps are about to be a step and a half. Because the leg stride on these things, and as big as he is, I'm not fixing to find out. I'll ask him before I try him.
Yeah. Yep.
And I really do. And lately, it's like I said, Jeff, it's been really positive. And I've seen him easily 3 times. Yeah, 3 times now since that first encounter, because I've been up there 4 more times. And one day he wasn't there, and that's when I started getting a little concerned. I didn't know if William probably called him back, to the facility or whatever it was, because I ain't gonna lie, I like having him around. Like, I kind of feel like I'm not sure what the name of that movie was, but it was a movie that I think came out in the 90s that was about a boy who discovered Bigfoot, and they became best friends. I can't remember the name of the movie, though.
Was it Harry and the Hendersons? No, it wasn't Harry and the Hendersons.
It had that blonde-headed boy from Home Improvement in it. That's all I can remember. It had one of the little boys in that movie playing the main character, playing as the boy that became friends with Bigfoot. I can't remember the name of it now. But, the point I'm trying to make, though, is that I kind of feel like, I have a friend that we could become, close enough friends to where that I feel like he could end up being a key to helping us realize that we can get along a lot more than, a lot of these encounters kind of go to prove to be false. I've listened to Vic Cundiff's channel. I've listened to what lurks beneath and what lurks above. I've heard a lot of encounters be scary and be, not the best, but I've also heard a lot of encounters where people just, the moment they come across them, they're aiming a 12-gauge shotgun and blowing out their pectoral muscles, and then, it retaliates, and then people want to talk about, it tried to kill me. Well, I guess so. If you blew my chest muscle out, I'm about to tear you up too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just they're trying to defend themselves.
And honestly, because, if William and all of them are trying to put these things out here to help us understand that they can help us, then, there needs to be something out here that is helping us realize that these things are out to protect us, and they're being trained to protect us, because, the last thing you want to do is go out here and confuse them, and they get trained to watch over us, but yet the moment they see us, we're out here trying to shoot them like moving targets. So that's why, I kind of feel like that if we can train these things to understand that we don't want to hurt them, then us as humans need to realize that we don't need to show aggression right off the bat when you see one, because you never know. You can come across one like me and it end up being on a different type of time. It's here and it's not trying to hurt you, but yet you're out here trying to blow its head off. So now it's like, okay, well, head honcho told me to, protect you, but you out here trying to blow my head off. So you know what? Forget what he says and forget what the heck, and forget you. I'm going to take you out since you want to try to take me out.
All right. Yeah. We're kind of running out of time right now because I only have about an hour recording time. Not from YouTube, but from the program I use. So, Zach, these have been some amazingly valid points. That last point you made was exactly, that's pretty much probably how their brain works. You're out to get me. Why are you trying to get me when I'm supposed to be here to protect you? I'd love to have you back and discuss any more of your encounters with Buddy. I'm curious to see if he has a name that was given to him on his own. Like how Justin had a name. I don't know how you could go about doing that, but I'm real curious to see. So
yeah, I could probably see about trying to ask him. Maybe, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee nothing or whatever,
right.
But I could possibly do that or whatever. And maybe, just maybe, if it's okay with William or whoever, whatever, because I understand, you're not supposed to take pictures or recordings or nothing like that, but just maybe, I could probably maybe at least get a recording and maybe have his voice, record it, and I could maybe put it on the show and let everybody hear it. And
I'd like to hear that. Yeah, that would be amazing.
I don't want to get nobody in trouble, especially myself, because, we've been told, we have to watch what we do, and we're not allowed to take pictures and stuff like that. That's what William said to us all before, so, I'm not sure if I'm able to do that or not, or whatever.
Well, all right. Well, I will figure that out. I know I'm going to be talking to William in the next day or two. I'm going to make an announcement on my channel either tonight or tomorrow. I wanted to do it today, but I kind of had to wait for some information. So, Zach, it was great talking with you. I really appreciate you coming on. And would you like to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah. Everybody have a good night, good day, whichever you got going on. And also, just let me say this. If you ever do come across one, try your best just to try to keep it positive. Because let's remember, these things are wild and they're still learning, but us humans, we're intelligent enough to know what we need to do and when to do it and when not to do it. So let's try to just simply, have a positive approach, because if we can have success with one, then there can be way more to come than that. But other than that, y'all, I wish all y'all a good night or a good day and a blessed one.
All right, everyone, here is that update from Zach.
Jeff, I hope your daughter and you are well. And just so everyone knows, there is a lot to cover and a lot to bring back up. And I'm typing this on my phone, so I apologize if a word or anything gets left out. I'm also shaking some while I type this, but okay, as you and everyone knows, that I recently had a run-in with Buddy, aka the werewolf, and found out that they could really speak. Shortly after speaking to you, Jeff, on your show, I was about a week or two later that I started seeing less of Buddy. And then one day, nothing. I was a little nervous because I don't know what happened. I was worried that he turned against me and now either planning to hunt me or who knows what. A few days go by and still nothing. The woods sound alive and, well, I don't see any dead animals and don't smell anything, don't see any prints. It was like Buddy was never around. I leave and come back the next day. Same thing, everything is normal. I make my way around my truck, get my supplies out, and begin making my way to the hunting spot to begin setting up the houses of hunt out of. My dad and I build them, and once we build them, we bring them and set them up. On this day, I was alone and drove my truck to the spot and backed the truck up to the post holes, the way I could drop them in, right in with the truck helping me hold the house up. After about 20 minutes of hell getting the house set up and in the holes, I sit on the tailgate of my truck to catch a breather. Sitting there, about sweating my balls off and chugging water like there's no tomorrow. I notice how quiet it is and I look around. I don't see or hear anything. Based off my previous experience,
I was thinking, okay, maybe Buddy is back. So I look around with caution. I didn't have my .416 with me this time. All I had was my AR-15 because how crazy things have gotten in the world, I only had it for safety reasons. But as I was saying, I was looking around and couldn't see anything. That's when I gradually began to smell a strong odor of dead animal and wet dog. Now I know what people mean by the odor, because it smells bad. But as I said, I smelt that odor and kept looking around. I couldn't see anything or hear anything, and then it dawned on me. Hey, people said Dogman had that smell, and right when I had that thought in my mind, I hear a faint growl and noises coming from my rear. And at this point, all that's behind me is the house I had just put up in the woods. I turn and duck down to squat so I can look past the house to see if there's anything behind the woods. And that's when I see this creature with a golden coat, German Shepherd head, halfway sticking out from behind a tree. As soon as I saw it, it ducked back behind the tree. I'm thinking to myself, that's not Buddy, it doesn't even look like him. WTF is that? It looked nothing like Buddy or the one that I saw as a child. So I stay in this crouched position, staying focused on that one spot, then I hear a sound from my left. Now to my left is nothing but a small open field. Because of my angle and direction, I'm already facing, there's probably about 200 yards of open field, and on my right is a trail leading out to an open area and nothing but woods. Because how I was set up, I was at an angle that was facing more right than left, so I could get a clear all-around view of the open field. So I wanted to kind of clear up and help understand the layout, but as I heard that noise, I looked to my left and saw this black spot crouched down on all fours, trying to stay low to the ground. And as soon as I saw it, it stopped moving. And then the one in the woods began to growl, and this time even louder. I began thinking really fast in my mind that I needed to stay calm and remember how to use my instincts. Half my family comes from military background, and they taught me a lot. And one is to always keep my head up, mind clear, swallow my fear. But as this one growled, I turn my eyes to it. I quickly adjust back on the other, and that's when I catch it making again, and at this point, I know what's going on. But my gun is in my truck in the back seat. I remember that my windows are open, and that if I hop out of this bed, they're gonna pounce. So I'm staying calm, still crouched down. My truck is lifted, so I'm fairly decent off the ground. So it would take me 1 or 2 extra seconds to hop down, and I knew that I couldn't waste a second if I'm going to make a move at this moment. I knew it was going to take the training I've been given and have taught myself, and what William has taught through your channel. As I'm in the bed of my truck trying to plan this out, the one from behind the tree steps out and looks at me with a grin. It seems we are only 25 yards apart. He's not far, and yes, it was definitely a male, if you know what I mean. And as it steps out, it goes from grin to making growling noises again. Then it darts to my right through the small patch of trees, crosses the trail, and into another tree line. Now they are on my left and right at this point. So I look back to the other one, and it's now moved more in the middle of the field, and more in front of my truck at this point, still staying low to the ground. I'm confused at this point, not knowing what's going on. I begin to hear movement to my left, same one that just went into the woods. As I look to my left, the one in front of me stands up, makes a loud growl, howling noise, and runs my direction. Soon as it begins to run straight at me, I jump, slide across the top of my truck and into the passenger seat. Like I said, the windows are open, keys are still in the ignition.
I crank it enough to power the windows to roll them up. By the time I had the window half up, the one running was at the hood of my truck. This thing cleared 100 yards easily within seconds, enough to where I didn't even get my windows completely up. It just stops and puts its hand/paw on my hood of my truck. This is early afternoon, so I'm getting clear as day look at these things. This one wasn't bulky, it was lean, and this one had a dark brown color to it. And the other one has a golden brownish color, like a lab with the golden tannish color. The fur wasn't that thick. The face was a mixture of a German Shepherd wolf, if that makes any sense. The hands were more like paws and hands mixed together. As it stood there, it started sniffing the air, looking around, then it turns its head to a right, which is my left, and there comes the other one, walking on all fours. I grab my AR-15 and look back up, and as soon as I look up, it's looking at me, and the look in its eyes are like, I don't know what you just did, but I'm about to find out, and that's when I pull the charging handle. And as soon as I do, that growls and hauls ass to my passenger side quarter glass window and shoves its face into the window. And as soon as that one did it, the other one comes from behind and smacks the quarter window and sends cracks all through it. And one in the front of me raises its arm to swing at my window, and that's when I let 2 shots off at this thing. I hit it because it let out this awful cry, yelp sound, and the other must have ran too because I turned back and it was gone. Jeff, I don't know, but all this started happening soon as Buddy left. I don't know where my friend is, but I want him back. I just hope he wasn't the werewolf from Alabama that William spoke of, because the Buddy I knew, it's hard to see him doing harm to an individual. I just hope Buddy wasn't trying to ask for my help when he said protect us. Remember me telling you about that, and William thought it meant something else. What if Buddy was asking me for help? Werewolf or not, I've always believed they need help too. Since then, I haven't been back, but recently I was at a gas station not far from my property. And while I was getting a drink, I noticed an older Native American. He would always stare at me, not creepy looking, really, but would just have a smile on his face. He finishes getting his stuff and goes to check out, and I finish what I'm getting and then make my way to the line, check out. The whole time I'm feeling like I know him, but I've seen him before. He goes to walk out and turns his head, and then does this head tilt, like when you say hello with your head, but with a grin and a smile. I pay for my stuff and make my way back out to the truck. Now, just to make it clear, it's probably 3 weeks after the Dogman nightmare and probably 4 weeks since I've seen my buddy. But as I was going back to the truck, I saw the old man getting into his truck. And when I saw him getting in, I noticed a totem wolf symbol around his neck. I don't know what happened, but I got a big flood of curiosity and had to ask him if he knows anything or seen anything. As I walk up to him, I notice that he has a wolf in his truck with him. It's a beautiful timber wolf. He sees me walking up, and I wave and say hello, and he says, "Hello, young man." I introduce myself to him. He looks at me and goes with a giggle, says, "My name is Chief." And I asked him, "Chief, do you believe in what some people call werewolves or some call Dogman?" He looks at me and says, "You do, don't you, boy?" And I said yes, and that I believe not all are evil or mean harm. He smiles and says, "You've been welcomed, haven't you?" I say, "What do you mean?" He goes, "The spirit of the wolf is a pure thing. Those who are pure at heart find peace with the guardians of the land. Some are guardians, while some walk as the damned upon our lands." My body goes numb as I'm floored that I think I've found my answers I've been looking for. I tell him not long ago I had come across a werewolf, and if spoke to me, and said protect us, but lately I haven't seen him since, and I told him everything that went on between me and Buddy, and he tells me that you are pure at heart and have a spirit of a wolf, and he is rubbing his wolf totem on his necklace you are one with. Jeff, there's lots more I have to share with you. This is not all of the story. There's way more. After that, I went to the native's home, and he shared so much with me that I think I've found the truth to a lot of questions when it comes to the Dogman/werewolf. I'm going to share more with you and everyone who wants answers as well. I'm speaking more with him sometime soon, but till then, I do have a lot to share with you and your channel.
All right, folks, I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that keeps this channel growing and going, and what makes it a place for people to want to share their experiences, ideas, and theories, judgment and ridicule free, just simply treated with the respect that we all do deserve. Everyone stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there, and they are definitely dangerous. Share this information with the people you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for answers, and God bless.